Sonic 3 is a love letter to the fans. Granted, it's not perfect, but if you're a fan of Sonic Adventure 2, then this movie is definitely worth watching. The story brings Team Sonic face to face with the edgy dark hedgehog with an attitude, Shadow. Alongside this, we get the return of Robotnik, and he comes face to face with his grandpa, Gerald Robotnik. With the help of the human characters Tom and Maddie, Sonic and his friends are tested with their toughest battle yet. So my general thoughts on the movie is that I enjoyed it a lot, especially going towards the second and third act where everything just really ramps up. I think my favorite performance has to be the Robotnik and Knuckles.
I come to make an announcement. Shadow the Hedgehog's a bitch-ass motherfucker. He pissed on my fucking wife. That's right. He took his hedgehog fucking quilly dick out and he pissed on my fucking wife.
Jim Carrey really ups the ante all the way to 100, as you can perceivably see him play two separate characters. And what's crazy is that you actually feel something for Gerald, because his backstory is pretty compelling, and when the shit hits the fan and he reveals himself as the real enemy of the movie and not some other goofball like Ivo, aka Eggman, you'll really feel something. And I just gotta say, Jim Carrey was really funny. I mean, this has gotta be one of his best performances in a long time. He really looked like he was having fun in this movie. I didn't mind all the zaniness and the ad-libs, and I really think this was peak Jim Carrey. While many people would argue that they made Knuckles dumber in this movie, I personally believe he's just funnier. Knuckles was always kind of the naive, brute brawler, and in this movie, it's no different. But he also acts as the voice of reason in Team Sonic, and you can really tell that Idris was just having a really good time doing whatever the heck he wanted to do. Speaking of Team Sonic, no one really felt out of place or undershadowed in this movie. Yes, pun intended. Sonic and Tails are just as important as Knuckles, and they all balance off each other really well, and you buy them as a team, as friends, and heck, even as brothers. Sonic himself has gradually evolved from this hyperactive goofball to a more, while still impulsive, his character is now a person that reflects on his action. Granted, it's his heart that can make or break certain situations. Now let's talk about the star of this movie.
Begone, thought.
Shadow, played by the wonderful Keanu Reeves. Honestly, if you told me Keanu Reeves was gonna be Shadow a couple years ago, I wouldn't see it, but there's something that just gels so well with Shadow. There's something that just gels perfectly between Keanu's voice and Shadow's character. Honestly, so far these celebrity castings have been perfect for the Sonic characters. You still get the dark Shadow from the games and other expanded materials, but the backstory has been tweaked in a way that makes it appropriate in some aspects for a younger audience. He still wields a gun and still rides a motorcycle, although the gun is a laser gun, and he's dead set on getting revenge for Maria. At this point, we're entering spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, click away. But my overall thoughts on this movie is that it was great. And I definitely recommend going to see this movie if you're a Sonic fan or you just want to enjoy a good movie for the holidays. This movie follows the story beats of Sonic Adventure 2, but remixes it in a way that works well for general audience. While I would have definitely found it interesting if they added some of the darker elements from the game, I don't mind this new version. Shadow's origin in this film has been changed from being a creation of Gerald Robotnik to being an alien from outer space. Granted, the Shadow games do imply that Robotnik got some help from making Shadow from alien DNA, but I guess they cut out the middleman. They don't want to go too far in his backstory with the Blackheart explanation, but that could be open for a future Shadow the Hedgehog movie when he gets his own spinoff. So we kind of got to talk about the elephant in the room, which is Maria. I do enjoy how they fleshed out Maria's character more a bit this time around. Instead of just being a generic girl who's friends with Shadow, she kind of wore him down a little bit, and she's kind of down to earth, and she's a really cool person that brings Shadow out of his shell. They do kind of avoid mentioning Maria's sickness in this film and just kept it to her following Gerald wherever he went. It's kind of hilarious if you think about it, because Shadow really crashed out for this human girl, and according to general flashbacks, they're both perceived as kids, so they're kind of the same age, although they're different species. So I guess there could be a romantic angle, but that's up to your interpretation. I just saw them as friends, but some people say differently, seeing as he did crash out for. There are certain elements missing from the game, such as Shadow granting Eggman wishes and the government confusing Shadow for Sonic, but we do kind of get elements like that in this movie. Shadow and the Robotniks teaming up, and Gunn facing off with Team Sonic in order to get vital information on Space Colony Ark. The third act sees Gerald and Ivo head up to Space Colony Ark, and that's where Gerald gets his mask off and he tries to blow up the Earth with Shadow's help, and it takes an ass whooping from Sonic after Shadow injured Tom earlier in the second act for Sonic and Shadow's character to develop. Sonic, after the third act, becomes bloodlusted and realizes that it's not in his nature to be like Shadow and seek revenge, while Shadow realizes that Maria wouldn't have wanted him to take out vengeance like this, and they pretty much become friendly after. They team up together using the Chaos Emerald. And go super, and Moy. They team up together using the Chaos Emerald, and boy, the movie didn't have to do this, but they did, and I'm very happy that they did. And I played Live and Learn by Crush 40, and when I tell you I geeked the hell out, I was basically foaming at the mouth. Oh boy! Yes! The last 45 minutes. Grandpa Robotnik ends up fighting Eggman and gets killed like a fly in a bug zapper. And Eggman and Shadow both sacrifice themselves by getting rid of Space Colony Ark in an explosion. The movie ends with Team Sonic together again, appreciative of what they have gone through, and Tom ends up healing up from his injury from Shadow. The mid-credits scene has Sonic ending up in New York in a forest where he comes face to face with an army of Metal Sonics. And we finally get the debut of Amy Rose in the Sonic cinematic universe. And they all look freaking amazing. Personally, if they end up casting Amy, I would have had 3 perfect options: Alison Brie, Stephanie Beatrice, or Io from The Bear. Those girls would do an amazing job as Amy Rose. Granted, Stephanie Beatrice could also be a good Rouge the Bat, but yeah, those are my draft picks for Amy's voice. The end credit scene sees the return of Shadow the Hedgehog, which is obvious because they're not going to kill Shadow because he wakes. The end credit scene sees the return of Shadow the Hedgehog, which makes too much sense because they're not going to kill off Shadow. He makes way too much money. So we might see him in the future Sonic 4 or even in his own spin-off. Speaking of Sonic 4, it, at the time of this recording, has been announced that and greenlit for 2027. So we're basically getting Sonic C. That being said, Robotnik is dead. So how are they going to integrate Metal Sonic's backstory? So we've got 2 options. Personally, it's either going to be a Gunn creation, or I could see this being a last-minute contingency plan made by Eggman if, he died. Because he has been collecting the quills over the past 3 movies, and he's got some kind of obsession with Sonic, so I could see him using the quill's energies to make a Metal Sonic. Overall, this was a great movie. If you agree or disagree or have any thoughts, comment down in the comment section. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know the next time we upload. And thanks for watching.